Now, I'm not a big fan of venting videos and really don't like the thought of doing one, but sometimes you got to get things off your chest. I just want to throw it out there right up front. I'm not trying to be a Hunt the Front or Hollis Farms or any of them type of YouTube channels. I'm just trying to do my own thing and kind of do something a little constructive other than strolling around on Facebook all the time. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think I've ever once said on my YouTube channel that I think my old leaf spring car is going to walk off and leave everybody behind. I don't think that's ever going to happen myself, but you never know. And I definitely didn't start a YouTube channel because I think I'm the world's greatest racer either. Now, most weeks I'm gone from home Monday through Friday. And racing is kind of my getaway from the reality of working, kind of my stress reliever, some would say. Now, I'm not really into sports or fishing or all those type of things, and racing's always been an interest of mine since I was a little kid. I lived about 3 or 4 miles away from the racetrack, and I could hear them run. But it wasn't until I was 14, 15 years old before I ever went to a racetrack. And to be truthful with you, my first race car I helped build before I ever owned it. And I ended up buying it later on for $2,500. Got an old wore out fire suit with it. A couple years later, I paid $4,000 cash for an upgrade for the mini stock class. I ended up buying the biggest headache I've ever had in racing. As a matter of fact, that car almost made me want to get out of racing completely. But by the grace of God, a friend of mine really wanted that car, and he had a modified he wanted to trade for it. And it was an old leaf spring modified. But long story short, me and that modified didn't get along all that well, although I did manage to get a heat race win with it, even though I got destroyed in the feature. But everything from that modified ended up in my Super Streak pretty much, as far as the engine, transmission, and rear end. Now, last year I managed to take that Super Streak car that I currently have with a lot of loose ends on it, and somehow or another I managed to weasel my way into a 10th place in points. And somehow my non-competitive leaf spring car had a couple of top 5 finishes. Now, not at any point last year had I ever scaled my car out, and at this point this year, the car still hasn't been on a set of scales. Now, one thing I can brag about with my non-competitive leafer is, at the end of the day, I own it. Now, I'm not trying to fire any shots at anybody, but I do know there are some people that race very well set up cars that don't have any dirt on their fingers. As a matter of fact, some of these cars are set up so well, you could probably put a monkey behind the steering wheel, and they could probably get a good win or two out of it. But what do I know about racing? I'm just one of those poor, non-knowledgeable people that don't really have a clue what he's doing. But I must have some of these seat fillers a little worried, because for some reason I keep ending up in their conversations, whether they realize it or not. I know about it. Now, I've heard some old timers say bad news travels like wildfire. Now, I've also heard them say that trash talk gets blown around with the wind. You gotta be careful with that trash talk, because it might end up in somebody's yard that you don't want to see your trash. Now, a lot of successful racers will tell you one of the important things about racing is using your head. And one of those things that using your head comes into handy with is what you say and who you say it to. Because if there's one thing that I've learned in the years that I've been racing is you're better off to have friends in the pits instead of enemies. Because enemies in the pits usually leads to enemies on the track. Because I've seen it time and time again that enemies on the track usually lead to a lot of tore up crap that shouldn't be tore up to start with. Now, I've got a lot of hard time and effort put into the body of my car, or into my car altogether actually, and I don't want to tear my crap up. But there are others out there that could care less what their car ends up looking like at the end of the night. And those guys who care less about their car at the end of the night are probably the ones that you want to try to stay friends with and not run your mouth about. But the benefit of making friends at the track is if you need a hand with something, the good chance is people will come over and give you a hand, loan you tools, loan you parts, anything to keep you on the track to go out and play. Now, I'm not trying to be negative to this post whatsoever. Now, you might have watched all that there just to get to this point here. And don't talk trash on somebody else's shoes if you don't know the story behind those shoes. Now, if those shoes aren't that great and you're not willing to help somebody get into a better pair of shoes, or to help them make the old shoes better, you're best to stick to the shoes that you got and worry about the shoes that you got. Because if your shoes are so great, then those old raggedy shoes that the rest of us are wearing shouldn't really matter to you, or shouldn't even be a worry to you. So, good luck to all you guys this season, and may God bless you and have a good day.